grade. And I'm not talking like a semester there was a D, a D minus. I'm talking an entire year, math, nothing but D's and F's. I mean, for years in a row, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. I have no idea why the teachers were promoted me. I don't think I have that great of a personality, so I don't think that they liked me. Actually, maybe they didn't like me. That's probably why they promoted me. But we never had to worry about me failing because, like I said, they promoted me up until my senior year of high school. Never failed a grade. The heartbreak came after my senior prom, and I had my senior pictures taken. You see, I needed a 70 in my creative writing course in order to get the credits that I needed to graduate. But instead, Mrs. Culbertson, the only teacher I ever remember from ever being in school, she gave me a 69 instead. So I was 1 point short and didn't get the credits I needed to graduate. The reality sank in real quick. I had finally failed at school. Now it was going to be time to prove my father right. I mean, what else could be said but the obvious? I was a failure. And most of my life growing up, I was very distant, depressed, moody. This went along with all the school issues that I had. I spent a lot of my time in my bedroom by myself, listening to music, trying to figure out why I was the way I was. And I never got along well. I had a younger brother and sister, and I never really got along well with them. As a matter of fact, when we would get into arguments, as all young kids do, they used to tell me that I wasn't their real brother. And the reason that they would tell me I wasn't their real brother was because my birth father had actually left me and my mom when I was 2 years old. And so now my current dad, who's the father that I've ever known, he's staff sergeant in the Army, he actually wanted full custody of me, so he signed the paperwork to take over full adoption of me. I never knew growing up why I was always moody, depressed, couldn't do well in school. Again, my parents were telling me that it was me. It was a struggle that I was having to deal with. And my mom used to even tell me that the reason I was moody and unhappy was just because that's the person that I was chosen to be. And I really couldn't get that. I couldn't connect it because that's not how I felt on the inside. She used to even tell me that God would, I rarely smiled, so she would tell me that God was going to freeze a frown on my face. And I still believe that one. I think he did it. But once again, inside my heart, she couldn't have been any further from the truth. Because I did want to be happy. I did want to smile. And more than just on Christmas morning and my birthday parties, just in life in general, just to wake up a day and enjoy the day. But again, just like schooling, I couldn't seem to make that happen. No matter how hard I tried, I never seemed to be able to make myself happy. I was raised in a Christian home, and we were very active in the church. Did a lot of work with the youth and the sound, hung out a lot with the pastors and the youth pastors. So I really enjoyed the church atmosphere. But I got to tell you that being raised a Christian and finding my faith in God at a young age didn't seem to help much with the mood swings or the depression, at least not as much as I thought it would. And as a matter of fact, for me, sometimes I felt that it made it even more difficult. You see, I believed that God could change me if I just had faith in Him. I figured that He could be the person, He could make me the person that I myself could not become. If it didn't hurt enough, feeling like my parents blamed me for the way that I was, it hurt even more knowing that as close as a relationship as I had with God and as much faith as I had in Him, He never answered my prayers for help. Now, I have no doubt that He heard them. He just wasn't choosing to answer them for some reason, or at least so that's what I thought. Now, even though my parents would tell me things like I would choose not to get good grades in schools because I wasn't applying myself, or I was choosing to be the unhappy, miserable, depressed kid, I really couldn't be completely upset with them because they never knew truly how I felt on the inside. That's part of the problem that I had. They never knew how I truly felt on the inside. They never knew how much that I wanted to be happy, how much I wanted to make them happy, and just make them proud of me, of who I was, just to be their son. However, God, on the other hand, He knew, because He heard every single one of our prayers. He heard every cry for help. He knew that I just wanted to do well in school. He knew that I just wanted to be that happy kid, to make my parents proud. I had the faith that He could make the changes in me. And this is a God that does great things, performs amazing miracles. So why was He not willing to change me, to fix me? Why was He not reaching out to me? Because I was certainly reaching out to Him. On March 23rd, 1988, at the age of 19, I could no longer tolerate the pain. I was physically and mentally exhausted. Sick and tired of letting everyone in my life down, being a disappointment, being a failure. I decided to take my life. However, I felt that I didn't deserve to die quickly, quietly, or without pain. See, I felt that I needed to suffer just as those close to me had suffered for the past 19 years. Now sure, my family and friends, they'd miss me, they'd grieve for a year or two. That gets old, right? I figured, but after that, I'd be nothing but a distant memory. And best of all, finally, no more disappointments from my parents. No more failures. I'd be a has-been. I'd be a memory. So I decided that the only fitting punishment for me would be a slow and painful hanging. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. Back in the 80s when I did this, they had these leather web belts. They were really nice and pliable. I don't know if anybody here remembers them. Nice thing about them was they didn't have any pre-cut buckle holes. You could get that belt anywhere. So whether you lost weight or gained weight, you were getting that belt on no matter what. So I walked to my bedroom one day, locked the door, went around to the closet, put the belt through the buckle, tied the one end up, hung it over my closet, made sure I shut it and the latch caught so the door wouldn't open up. I didn't want to fall off. And I also wanted to make it difficult for somebody to get me off as well. So then, just like you guys, I was pretty fit when I was young. And I made that noose and I got up and did a calf raise, put my neck in the noose, got it nice and tight. Like I said, without those pre-drilled holes, even at a calf raise, I could get it nice and tight so I could barely breathe. So as I had that, I'd let myself down. I wouldn't be able to get that far off the ground before the circulation would start cutting off and I couldn't breathe anymore. So I wanted to make myself suffer so much that for the next 25-30 minutes, I just continued to do these calf raises until I physically exhausted myself. I'd catch myself. I'd go out. Every now and then, I guess my body would hit that whole fight or flight mode, and I'd kind of be out, and I'd get an adrenaline rush, and I'd be able to pop up for a minute to get a gasp of air, but I had physically exhausted myself so much that I couldn't even save myself if I wanted to. So like I said, I did that for about 25-30 minutes until I couldn't breathe anymore, and I was just out. Now my mom had been in the garage washing clothes that day, and we lived down south in San Antonio, Texas, so we really didn't use a dryer. She just used the natural sun to dry the clothes. And she'd been walking to the backyard to hang a load to dry on the lawn. And she later told me that as she was walking back to the house, past my bedroom window, something inside of her told her just to take a look to the window. So when she took a look through that window, what she saw was one of the most horrific sights that a parent could ever see. She saw her firstborn child lifelessly hanging from a closet door with a belt around his neck, his face a shade of blue she'd never seen before. Now, I don't remember seeing my mom.